What a go on, my beautiful peeps! Welcome to my channel, Chin Island Vibes, and the very first episode of my Whole Vibes podcast. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. You don't know how it go? So I can't wait to share my first guest with you, who I consider to be a true VIP and one of the world's hidden gems. When you talk about the power of determination no matter the obstacle, not looking like what you've been through, you're talking about Nicole Nick Simpson, author, actress, comedian, and host extraordinaire. Listen, I could go on and on about this phenomenal lady, but without any further ado, let me make you meet her so you can see for yourself. Let's hold our vibes. I present to you the beautiful and wonderful, phenomenal, awesome Nicole Nick Simpson.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Shineri. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk about my beautiful book, From No Salt to the Corner Office.
Amazing book.
This is my journey from Trinidad to America, through the corporate world, through entrepreneurship, into the entertainment world, into now.
Wow.
Please, Amazon.com. Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
Today. And let me tell you, it is a great read. And I'm not just saying that. I am not just saying that, people. It is an amazing, one of the best books ever. And I don't say that. That's not something I throw around. But let's get to know this lovely lady. But before we even go into that, Nicole, I just want to know really quick what you're drinking. Because, you are from Trinidad, which we are going to let you tell our wonderful listeners about more about this wonderful place you're from. But we both share something common. We share a lot in common, but we both come from the Caribbean. You're from Trinidad. I'm from Jamaica. And, we as Caribbean people, we love to drink. We always talk about the rum, but we're always drinking something, right? What you drinking today?
Today I'm drinking orange juice and water. Just fresh squeeze orange juice with water.
Yes, you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that. And while you are drinking something nice and cold, I have me some ashwagandha tea. Yes, here, because it's kind of chilly around here. So me drink some ashwagandha tea for warm up my belly. Yes. So cheers to you, Nicole. Cheers to a great interview that we're about to have.
Cheers to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome again to the Ola Vibes. So now,
thank you.
You, as I was just saying a little bit earlier, are from Trinidad.
Yes.
And I would love you to share with our wonderful listeners more about where you're from. Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean.
Trinidad is the furthest island south in the Caribbean. We are on the border of Venezuela. There's a smaller island, Tobago, but I was born and raised in Trinidad. We have, most of you will probably know, delicious foods. We are made up of Africans, Europeans, Dutch people, Venezuelan people, Indian people, Chinese people. We have a variety of nationalities in Trinidad. And we have all these different foods and, cultures, and we mix into one. We have the various religions that goes with all the different cultures. We have our own pitch lakes. And as most people know, we have Carnival, which is the number one tourist attraction. Thousands of people go to Trinidad every year for Carnival, which usually is the Monday and Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. And steel pan was invented in Trinidad, also the steam drum steel pan. Beautiful island.
Beautiful instrument.
sunny most of the time. We have a rainy season for a few months, but it's sunny most of the time and it's hot. We don't get winter. We don't go down to the 30s and things like that. We're hot and we're very humid also.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful beaches, clear crystal green, uh, kind of turquoise water, blue in some places, and salty, clean, and clear. Lots
Mm,
of fresh food, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Some people grow their own,
yes,
but you go to the market and you get things that are freshly picked a few hours before, and that's the way we lived.
that's the
Everybody,
way we live. Yes.
people are very laid back, which sometimes isn't good when it comes to business. Um, but you know, that's the culture, that's the way it is. So on your next vacation, when you're thinking of places to go, check Trinidad out. You will have a wonderful time. You will enjoy the foods, the beaches, of course, the party. And if you like to party, there's a party every night you can go.
Yes, Trinidad and Tobago, definitely one of the most beautiful places. I've never been
Mhm.
myself, but I've heard so many amazing things of Trinidad. And of course, being in the Caribbean reminds me so much of home too. When you talk about the beautiful beaches, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, and the food fresh off the land, selling in the
Mhm.
markets and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Now in
Yeah.
Jamaica, we our national dish is ackee and sawfish. What is the national dish over there in Trinidad?
Think we have a national dish per se,
Mm-hmm.
um, but ca- callaloo, roti,
Mm.
doubles, pigeon peas and rice. Because
Ah,
of the different cultures, we are very heavy on things like roti and doubles, which is Indian cuisine.
yes, I hear a lot about that.
Yeah, yeah. But it does, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to Barbados. I lived in Barbados for a few months when I was young. And I've been to a few of the other Caribbean islands, and they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
The foods are different. Even if it's the same thing, it's cooked differently. The
I
accents are a bit different.
yeah,
But of all the islands I've been to, there's a lot of similarities.
yes, yes. Now you mentioned Barbados. You were born in Trinidad, but
Yes.
um, were your parents also from Trinidad?
Both of my parents are from Barbados. They
Ah,
were born and
so
raised
you're
in
a Bayesian
Barbados.
Trini.
Yeah, yeah, whatever you want to call me. I am a beige Trini American. Um,
Ah,
they migrated to Trinidad because the economy was much better there at the time than it
ah,
was in Barbados,
mhm.
just like how people migrate to England and to America for looking for a better life. My father migrated there, married my mother, and she followed a few months later, and that's where they lived until they died.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Now you came over from Trinidad to America.
Yes,
Um, at what age?
I was in my late teens.
You're late teen, so you came over here as a pretty much as a
Teenager, yeah.
teenager.
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me something, Nicole, because we're looking at her, this lovely lady you see looking on the screen. So she looked nice and humble and sweet. I had no idea how funny this lady was until I saw her in action one day on the stage. No idea. Nicole,
Mhm.
how did you get into comedy? Was this a childhood dream that you had all along when you were in Trinidad? Like, how did you even get into comedy?
When I came to New York, I was totally and completely fascinated by the fact that they had 8 channels.
Mm-hmm.
We had, for a while in my life, we didn't have television at all in Trinidad. And then when we got it, we had one channel and it was black and white. We, of course, couldn't afford a television, so I would see the television at other people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they started getting color, I think, in the 70s. I'm not sure. But when I got to New York, they had 8 channels, and I was overwhelmed because having one channel, black and white, and we signed off at 10 o'clock at night.
Yes, I
I
remember
get to
that.
New York. They have 8 channels. They go on till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Even the American channels used to sign off, but they wouldn't sign off until like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. And there were so many programs. I remember seeing the game shows and couldn't believe they were really giving away, a bedroom set, a washer, a dryer. I thought it was a joke. I didn't realize they really gave that stuff away. And I would watch as much television as I could because I was fascinated. And I saw this show called The Tonight Show.
Mm,
And this guy named Johnny Carson was on it, and he would come out and talk about life, about where he had lunch, about something in Hollywood, about something in Malibu, about something in Santa Monica. And I had no idea what it was called, but I was like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And
yeah.
I later learned that it was a monologue and that was stand-up comedy, because at that time we didn't have stand-up comedy in Trinidad. Calypso was the closest thing to it, because a lot of the calypsos tells you like what's going on in the country, whether
Yes,
it's
yes.
political,
Make it.
it's the economy, it's whatever. They usually sang it in their calypsos. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of his comedy was, current, about what was going on in politics, what was going on in the country, if something happened in the world. And there's something inside of me that said, that's what I want to do. And I started making notes of, if I ever get the chance to do this, I would do it. But I knew enough to know that he was in Hollywood, that was Hollywood, and a little Caribbean girl like me would never be able to do something
Yeah.
like that. But that stuff stayed with me. I had the list for years. I never told anybody because they would laugh me out of town. But I kept that list of things I wanted to talk about for years. And it wasn't until I came to California years later that I winded up doing comedy workshops. And what you learn is that you can't teach somebody to be a comedian. The stuff has to flow from within. You can teach
Yeah.
them structure, which is what the guy who taught my workshops did. They teach you structure and how to set up and how to, punchline and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But you can't, it kind of has to come from within. And that's
Yes.
how I got into it. And I absolutely love it. The first time I performed, I thought I was going to die. I was so scared. I mean, I literally thought of jumping in the car and going home. I figure everybody would forgive me. And once they called my name, there were 12 of us, and I was number 8. So I had a lot of time to get scared. And when he called my name and I walked on stage, because the the instructor had said, look for the red light when you get on stage. I walked on stage, I looked for the red light, and then I was like, okay. And I started talking, and I got a nice round of applause.
Whoa.
And I was at home. I forgot about the red light, I forgot about the camera, and I just said what I had to say. And I got, claps and laughs and stuff. Thank God, because I was so happy. I mean, I forgot where I was. I was just at home. And that has happened to me almost every time before I go up on stage. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still scared to this day.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
once I'm on stage, I'm at home.
Yes.
The same thing with acting. Once I'm on set and they go action, I feel so at home that I forget that there's a camera and they're recording it and all that stuff.
Now tell me something with you being a comedian, and it's so funny you say that because I hear like a lot of great comedians say that is that once they get on stage and they start to hear the laughs and they hear the people really enjoying and engaging, everything
Mm-hmm.
else goes throughout the window and they feel right at home. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I
Yes.
hear that same thing resoundingly over and over again. But
Mm-hmm.
tell me, what were some of the places that you performed comedy?
I started out in a place in Santa Monica that's no longer there because
Mm-hmm.
after we were finished with the workshops, the instructor took us to perform real live in a nightclub. And I remember that night saying to myself, this is LA, the entertainment capital of the world. This is a real comedy club with real people. What are you doing here? But I have performed at the store in the West
Okay.
Hollywood.
Yes,
I've
yes.
performed at the Improv, the Laugh Factory. I've performed at corporate events, including my companies when I was in the corporate world, Christmas party. Performed at weddings, and I also performed in British Columbia, Canada, and in Saint-Tropez, France.
Wow.
I've performed in tons of tiny coffee shops, cafes, because when you're starting out in comedy, you don't get a lot of big places to
Right.
go.
Right.
And, you do open mics and things like that. So I've done a lot of those in small places, and you get on stage at 1 o'clock and there's five people left in the audience and
Yes.
that kind of stuff. But
And you
I
mhm.
love doing it. And when the audience is with you, you can feel the energy. They connect and they're going with you.
Yes.
It's a great feeling.
Yes, and you can see the passion when you're on stage, how much you love it too. But one of the things I love about your comedy, which is very hard to find today, is that you don't curse, you don't use any profanity, any expletives. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it's refreshing because you don't really find that kind of comedy around
Yeah.
much anymore.
No, it's not that. I don't deem it necessary
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you're filling in with curse words. I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't do like deprive yourself where
Yeah,
you just put yourself down and say bad things about yourself. No,
right.
I don't do that either. And cursing to me, it's not something I normally do anyway. So to make the effort to put it in my comedy, it's not necessary. I
Yeah.
work hard on the writing because part of comedy, the writing of the script is so important. It's the writing, it's the delivery, it's the timing. And if you can get those three together, you have something
It's
special.
magic. Yeah, absolutely. Are you still doing comedy today, or do you have anything coming up?
I
Any sh
don't have anything coming up in the near future. I haven't been performing for a while.
Mhm.
Life took certain twists and turns on me,
As it
and
does?
I had to, do other things in
Hmm.
the meantime. But I'm getting back to it. I'm definitely gonna get back to it. I love it. I absolutely
Yes, but
thank you.
you mentioned in talking about your road as a comedian, doing gigs when you were in the corporate world. Now,
Yes.
I want to go a little now into that now
Hmm.
because you viewers, listen, you see how you see her looking so nice and humble, and she not so, you see some people and you just think they're just simple. No, no, Nicole big, Nicole, Nicole, I need, so you were, based on my research on you and knowing of you as well, you were a big, what I call giant in the upper management world there of advertising.
Yes.
So can you share a little bit about that journey? And did that come before the comedy road, or the comedy road came after that, or was that during, or what's the link there?
It was during. I
Ah.
started in advertising in New York, and then I moved to LA with the same company. I'm not to LA, to Dallas. They were opening an office in Dallas because they had several clients in that region, and they felt like having an office there would, the clients would feel better service as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to East Coast and the 2 hour time change from Dallas, etc. And I winded up being responsible for a lot of things because back then the lady who hired me, she worked in the New York office also. They didn't have somebody to go out and look for the space. She had to go find the office space. We had to set up the office from scratch. And I was her assistant. So she winded up giving me several other assignments. New York put me in charge of what we now call human resources. It used to be called personnel at that time. And so I ended up having like 5 jobs. I was her broadcast assistant. I was the administrative person for the office. I was the office manager. Um, I took care of so many things. I mean, we had to like open the bank accounts.
Wow, head cook and buckle washer, as we say in Jamaica.
Yeah, from soup to nuts, we had to do everything to set up the office. And there were a couple of account executives that were coming to work on a couple of the clients we had. One was a major fast food and one was a major car line. So we had to get enough space and set up and desk and everything for them. And I did it all. I just learned on the job and just kept going, put my head down and kept the work going. And my boss wanted me to get into the broadcast and the commercial buying. When you see commercials running on television, radio, in print, etc., somebody does that. Somebody puts that there. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that because you guys work all the time. You take work home all the time and you're always mad because there was a lot of they did work so many hours.
Mhm.
And she kept saying you should try it, you can make a lot more money and you can have some fun and whatever. I was like, nope, nope, don't want to do it. And eventually I broke down and said, oh, okay, I'll try it. And I did, and I started. She taught me. She had promised me anything I wanted to learn, she would teach me, and she did. Anything I wanted to learn, she would teach me. She literally sat down with me and taught me how to negotiate with the sales reps, how
Mhm.
to come up with the ratings. The ratings are the percentage of people looking at a television show or listening to a radio show. Um, and she taught me everything, and I took to it like they say, like a duck in water. And she promoted me to a junior buyer, and then I became because a buyer or a negotiator is the same thing. It's the person
Right.
who negotiates with the salesperson at the radio or television station, price, positioning, ratings, because we work on behalf of our clients. So, for example, Universal was one of my clients, Universal Pictures. So you do everything for that client to make sure
Mm.
they get the best positioning, the best prices, the most ratings that you can get them for the dollars that they spend. Because clients spend a lot of money on
Oh,
commercials.
wow. So
And
tell
I
me
just
something. So really quick. So you were that woman then. You were that person who is behind. You see, like how when we watch, like, say, a Super Bowl commercial and we see like certain places, certain people get certain spots.
Mhm.
You were that lady that was making that happen.
Yes,
Pretty
we.
much.
I was one of those people. At one
Whoa.
point, I was responsible for close to $300 million for
Wow.
several clients, and the amount of responsibility that comes with that, you don't think of it. If somebody had to give you this and said, "This is what this job entails," you won't take it. It's because you're responsible to so many people. Not
Right.
You have your staff, you have the planning department, you have the account people, you have the billing people, and then you have all of your clients that you're responsible for. But somehow it just worked for me. I was able, thankfully, a lot of my clients, they love working with me. I'm still in touch with some of them to this day. And I just moved up and moved on. I switched companies, and Kurt, love him. It was the first person that promoted me to vice president. And again, it was a surprise. I didn't even know I was there. I started in like April or May. And that Christmas, when they did the state of the art, state of the agency speech, each department head speaks about their department and what accomplishments they had.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said he had some announcements, and he made an announcement that another person was promoted to vice president, and we all
Big
clapped.
shot.
And then I heard my name, and I was beside myself.
Wow.
And then, thank you, Kurt. And then the last agency I worked with, the same thing happened. I started in May, and they called me in 5 months later and said that they were going to wait till December. They, meaning the CEO, my boss, and the head of human resources. And first of all, I walked in the room and was like, why are the three of them together? And they seemed so pleased with themselves. And they promoted me to senior vice president, which
Wow.
was a total surprise to me. I write a lot about that in the book. I have a whole thing about my advertising journey and through the corporate world and the things that happen, great things happen, some not so great things happen, and I detail that a lot in the book.
Wow. So you literally, Nicole, started off literally from the very,
As
you
a,
know how they talk about now we at the bottom, now we're here. That's you.
yeah,
So you
started
literally
from the
started
bottom,
from
now
the
we're
very
here.
bottom
Yeah, I
all the
started out
way.
as a secretary and
Yes.
just learned and grew and yeah, yeah. I mean, at one point, I believe I had like 33 people in my department, and they worked so hard because again, you're usually always not staffed up to leisure. You're
Mm-hmm.
always, a person or two short, and the deadlines. Because the thing is, because it's time, it's you can't bring it back. It's not like something you
Right.
can do next week. If somebody's launching a product, if your car is launching a new car line, if your packaged goods is launching a new food, or with the movies, well, those are the worst because movies only have a very short window to go up because most products start and grow. Movies, they start at the top and go down.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to get the windows done. So the deadlines are the deadlines. If they're promoting the thing or they opening the business or whatever in this 2 week window, you just have to get it done. So
Yes.
that's why we were always working late because we always had deadlines to meet.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, I can totally imagine being the senior VP. And I'm sure this was not no little, what we say in Jamaica, pion pion or dibby dibby, meaning no little small scale advertising agency. If I'm not mistaken, this was a
International billion
okay.
billion dollar agencies.
There you go.
I don't even know how many billions they were. They have offices in Europe, in Asia. Um, I believe they may have an office in Africa, but they all over Europe. I went
Mm-hmm.
to the office in France
Mm-hmm.
because I had, many years ago, one of the agencies I worked with had a program where you could transfer for a year to another agency overseas, and
Mm-hmm.
they would take it's like an exchange program. And I
Right.
wanted to do that, but I was too afraid at the time. But the first time I went to France, I asked the CEO if he could contact somebody in the Paris office, and he did. And I went, and they were very nice, and they showed me the computer systems and things. It was very similar to ours. It was
Wow.
just in French.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was supposed to go to the Bangkok office, but by the time you with the hour change, the time
mm-hmm.
change, by the time I got there, it was Saturday because I was going to go to the office on Friday. But Friday for us was already into Saturday for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get to go there. But no, they were worth, they still are worth several $billions, and they were worldwide. Yeah.
Wow. So I can just imagine, Nicole, starting from the very bottom all the way to the top, senior VP. You had to have, I mean, there had to be some tremendous perks with that. I mean, I know you talk about a lot of these in the books, in the book that you wrote, but I'm just have to say, like, I mean, when you step anywhere, people should just like let you through. You know what I'm saying? You probably got invited to every single, one of those top-notch parties and events, that
Yeah,
they have.
there were several blessings that came with the hard work. Um, because the stations, the radio and television stations, have access to
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all of the events because it
Yeah,
runs on their venues. And
right.
you got invited to a lot of things. And because of that, I was able to experience a lot of people and places and things.
Yes,
Um, for example, like the award shows, it's like, how do you get a ticket to go to the award show? I had no
right.
idea until I was invited.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like, how does a regular person get a ticket to go to the Super Bowl?
Right, right.
So I've been blessed to go to things like the Grammys and the Golden Globes and People's Choice Awards and
Mm-hmm.
Billboard Awards and MTV Awards and just about all of the awards. So the only one I think I haven't been to is the Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love sports. I think I'm a Laker. Um, I literally asked Jerry Buss for a ring when we went back to back the first time, and he considered it. I have a letter from him. Um, he asked somebody to look into it, but then they said a ring should be earned and not given. And then they were literally looking into making a ring for the fans. And then they sent me a ring. It's like a paperweight, a huge ring. But I absolutely love sports. I grew up with cricket and football that
Cricket, yeah.
America calls soccer, and I
Yes.
played netball at school. And when I came to America, I was looking for sports and I saw football. So I thought, football, but this is a sport you play with your hand in America and you call it
Right.
football. Except for the kicker, it should be called handball.
Handball. That's exactly my thinking as well. Yes.
And when I was living in Dallas, I saw what I thought was a choreographed dance. Was these guys I believe they had on like purple tank tops, and there was this guy, I used to call him number 32, better known as Magic, Irvin Magic Johnson. And I watched this guy throw the ball behind his back, over his head, through his legs, around the back. And it seemed like it was, choreographed. And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, it's basketball. And then it was so close to netball. I started
Yes.
watching it, and that's how I fell in love with the Lakers. And because of that, I am like I said, I think I'm a Laker. And the same thing, I learned football in Dallas. And I've left Dallas many, many years ago, but I still root for the Cowboys, even though the people I rooted for are now old men and they've changed. Well, in sports, you're old once you get to 30 something. um, but I love, even though football, sometimes I think that it's so violent of a game, I still love it. And I love everything. I love tennis. I love volleyball. The Olympics, I look at pretty much everything. I love track and field, but I love sports. I love sports a lot.
So
But
you
yeah,
went to a
yeah,
lot of major sporting events, I would take
yes,
it.
yes,
When
and a lot of concerts. I saw
yeah.
most of the people I like. Um, the other day I was thinking, if I was in the business, I would certainly see Taylor Swift and Beyonce. Because back then the tickets weren't this price, but now the prices are like, ah. But no, I saw, you name all the major singers from the 80s and the 90s and
Mm-hmm.
the 2000s. Yeah, I saw them. It was a blessing. It was a
Yeah,
lot of work, a lot of responsibility, but when we had fun, we had fun.
we had
And I
fun.
wrote
Yeah.
about some of that fun in my book.
Yes. Oh, one of the things that I like with that journey is you how you starting where you started from and how that lady that was your I believe your manager at the time
Mm-hmm.
just showed you everything and
Yes.
you literally just grew up the rankings right to the top. And I remember in a lot of jobs it used to be like that. You don't really see that much anymore. It's like they tend to take in people from the outside and
Mm-hmm.
bring them in. It's rarely you find in companies where they really allow that person, give them that opportunity for growth,
Yeah.
to work their way all the way up, you
Yeah.
know. So that to me is
Oh, that is something that's irreplaceable. Because when we met in New York and we talked about it, because I wanted to leave New York, I couldn't stand the snow anymore, the subways, the whole thing. I was like, I had enough. And she said to me, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I want to learn whatever." And she
Mhm.
said, she looked me in the eye and said, "Whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to do, I'll help you. I'll let you." And I
Wow.
remember sitting there thinking, sure, right, because who does that?
Mhm. Mhm.
And true to form, when we got to Dallas, she helped me. I mean, we would sit down and she would say, A plus B equals C, D, E. I mean, word step, she showed me exactly how to do it. Because if you just take somebody who doesn't know anything about ratings and how to estimate a rating for a program, where do you go? Because
Yeah.
they don't, like, even in school, they don't teach you that verbatim. And
Right.
she did. She did. It's like when you buy radio, the different programs. Is it contemporary? Do you need sports? Do you need a young audience? Do you need an older audience? Do you need a minority audience? And then learning to buy the Hispanic market, which was getting bigger and bigger at the time. That was another learning experience for me also. And I also had to do some Asian buying, and
Mhm.
that was another learning experience.
Yeah. So with years as a senior VP, vice president of international advertising agency, you were in that field for how long total?
Oh, oh, about 25 years.
Wow, 25 years of service in that field. And now moving
I,
forward,
I started
uh-huh.
at 10. I started at 10.
Nicole, don't worry. You're still looking fabulously ageless, girl. So yeah, we can't keep up. We can't keep up. But 25 years, that's a long time. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
now, so we took a look into you as in your life as a comedian, which you still are, looked back into to your years of being a senior vice president of
Mhm.
a major international advertising agency,
Mhm.
right? And now you have just added something additional onto your list of accolades. Now you are an author, right?
Yes, yeah.
Of a wonderful book,
Salt to the corner office.
From No Salt to the Corner Office. First of all, how did you come up with that title?
I came up with the title. I was
And what
doing
is the essence behind that title?
I was doing a writing for a one woman show,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to my nephew Kibwe about what title I'm going to put on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you always told me about that story about you all not having salt. I had told him about, I know people call it a story. It's not a story, it's my life.
Yeah.
um, it's the day I discovered, I always knew that we were poor, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize the extent of how poor we were until the day I discovered that we didn't even have salt. We had
Wow.
no food, nothing was in the pantry, nothing was in the cupboards,
Not even salt.
not even salt. So we came up with from no salt, and then we're like, but from no salt to what? So for the one woman show, I had wrote to limousines because again, in the advertising business, when you were invited to these events and stuff, a limo used to come and pick you up. So we
Yeah,
used to
you
say,
you
I'm
were a
limo.
roller, Nicole. You were a roller.
We used to say I'm limoing, I've been limoing for years. So the play I had written, the part of the play I had written was from no salt to limousines. But
Mm.
then when I wrote the book, limousines are kind of now they don't even want to ride in limousines anymore. They want to ride in utility vehicles. And I didn't want it to be about the limousines
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the limousines is like one chapter, and I was searching for something else. And I can't tell you how many titles, how many things, but I was married to From No Salt. And I went, my girlfriend and I, Gladys from Ghana, she and I went walking on the beach one day, and we were going over it. She said, you need to make it something that you couldn't think of, something that didn't even dream of could happen. And she's like, it needs to be something like From No Salt to the Corner Office. And when she said that, it registered. I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's it. But then I asked a few people, and one person said, well, no, most people aren't going to know what the corner office mean. I'm like, really? Because in America, when you say the corner office, usually the top executive person usually gets the corner office. And I went back and forth. I did little surveys and stuff. And I was talking to another friend. I asked Monique, and she's like, You need to do." And I said, "But I have this title." And somebody said, and she's like, "No, that's it. You need something like that." And I'm like, it registered with me when Gladys said it. I'm going to stick with it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I decided to stick with From No Salt to the Corner Office, which was like the highest point I could have gotten in my situation, uh,
Right.
in that division.
Right. And when you read the book, you see that this was no ordinary coroner office. No ordinary coroner office. Okay. Let's just say it was no ordinary coroner office. But and the actual title of the book, when you look at the book, From No Salt to the Coroner Office, it also says My Journey from Poverty to the Peak of Advertising.
Correct.
Right. And what, you know, reading this book, Nicole, you can see you had an incredible life that is still going.
Mhm.
But all the layers that come out through this book, you would
Mhm.
just never think, right? Which looking at you, and I've known you, I'm so grateful to the Most High God for blessing me with the honor of knowing you, this lovely lady here. But I would have had no idea of some of these things that you went through,
Mhm.
and the just these colors of your journey. And it just goes to show you just can never, when you meet people, you never know
Right.
their story. They're
Right.
in front of you, they're smiling, they're pleasant, they're humble. You
Mhm.
don't know their story. And
That's
this
true.
is what this was such a resounding reminder of reading your book. And
Mhm.
without giving things away, because I want people, definitely for all those out there who love to read and love a good book, this
Mhm.
is worth every bit of your time and your money. It is an amazing, amazing read, I tell you. Let me tell you, yes, Nicole, thank you for holding up. Just to let you guys know, when I took up Nicole's book, I was reading Nicole's book. I took it up during my lunch hour, and I had to literally set the alarm on my phone because the book was so good that the time would fly and I would like, oh my gosh, I would end up getting back to lunch late. It is that kind of a book, gripping. It will grip you in your seat. You can't put it down, I tell you. So, Nicole, without giving too much away, you explained to us how you came up with that title. What exactly, I know you said it's a journey from poverty to the peak of advertising, but really what led you to write a book about your life?
About my life. Several years ago, one of my girlfriends, we were like ride and die sisters, one of those people you talk
Yes,
to
yes.
10 times a day. And we would talk several times a day. We'd get together a lot. And we'd be talking about life and da da da. And I'd say, and yeah, and this happened. And she always was like, you should write a book. I'm like, why? I'll tell her another story. And she'd be like, girl, you should write a book. Well, back then, like in the 90s and early 2000s, regular people weren't writing that many books. It was
Mm-hmm.
mostly entertainers, athletes, and then like educators or medical people or law people. You write a book about the law, about medical stuff. Every Tom, Jane, and Harry wasn't writing a book. And but she was consistent. Capri was consistent. Girl, you should write a book. And I didn't think anybody would even be interested in my
Mm-hmm.
life per se, because I didn't see it as a story, because it was like, this is what I live.
Right.
And I started writing a book about my view of America as a foreigner, from a foreigner's point of view. Then when I started doing comedy, I switched it to comedian's point, looking at America from a comedic point of view. And I'd put it down, I'd pick it up, I'd put it down, I'd pick it up. And then recently I decided, you know what? Capri always said you should write a book, because she thought all of these things that I had told her was so fascinating. And I switched and decided I'd just write about my journey. And that's what I did. I basically talked about my childhood and a lot of the challenges I had there. I have detailed them in the book. Then, coming to America and adjusting to New York City from a small island as a young person, it's very challenging. But I did it because, again, I wanted a better life and I wanted to be able to help my mother and my sister. And again, I went to school at night, I worked during the day, and then, just got a job in advertising, because I did a lot of other little jobs along the way. And I got a good job at a publishing company. And then from there, I winded up, going into advertising and then just worked my way up. It wasn't like I got into advertising like, oh, I want to get to the top. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even really understand what advertising was. But like I said, I learned any and everything I could about it, and just grew from point A to point B to point C. I had challenges along the way, and I have detailed those in the book also. Um, but I loved my job. I really did. I mean, a lot of my clients, like I said, I really liked the clients. And I love my staff because they work so hard. We always had these deadlines where I would have to walk through or call a meeting and go, okay, we can't go to lunch today. I'll order in lunch. We have to meet this deadline by 3 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. And they really worked their butts off.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved my staff. I loved their dedication. And, just kept working and working. And then it got so political because non-advertising companies started buying up advertising agencies and radio stations. And then it was all about the stocks and the stock market and the profits. And everybody was trying to reinvent the wheel and save as much money as they can so their bonuses could be larger.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where I had had enough of that. It got so political because then they started spinning off the broadcast division as a separate company because they could make more money that way. And it got really, really, really annoying. Really, you started to lose your love for going to work. And I was like, I
Right.
had enough. And I had had these ideas from traveling about having a lot of unique things and opening like a gift shop. Because back then, a lot of the vendors I would run into in Italy and Spain and France and stuff, they made things by hand. So they never was going to put them online because they can't make enough to sell to an international or even a national audience.
Mm-hmm.
They could only make so many of what, like this lady used to make these vases in her home, in her living room, and she could only make, like 10 a day or something like that. So I knew I could buy things that were unique that you wouldn't be able to find in America. And I
Mm-hmm.
had played with that thought for a while. And then when things started getting really out of hand, I was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to go into business on my own and just, fend for myself. So I left advertising, and that's when I opened a gift shop in Beverly Hills.
Ah, that's the famous Nicks of Beverly Hills, right? That's what it was called? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Nicole's Beverly Hills.
Nickel Holt's Beverly Hills. Yeah, very unique. Some of the most
Mhm.
beautiful, unique gifts and things that you could, I mean, think of from around the world was in that shop. Just
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. So, with you now writing this book, and let me tell you, there is just so many. Listen, I read the book by Michelle Obama, Becoming, which was about her life.
Hmm.
I thought that was a great book. I'm not taking anything, no disrespect, but your book was better. That book gripped me. I ain't lying. Anybody, if you read the book Becoming, if you like that book Becoming, you're going to triple like Nicole's book. Mark my word. Triple
Thank
better.
you.
The layers of challenges. You see, she talk about challenges. You saw she talk about them kind of lightly. These are not light challenges, people. I'm talking about not to give out, and these are just some of the things that stood out for me. The abuse you went through.
Hmm.
Looking at you, you would never think that.
Yeah.
The abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, almost experiencing, well, not almost, having an experience of being homeless, your encounters with racism in your face,
Hmm.
encounters with gunmen almost near to the door of death,
Hmm.
the adventures of just having the name Nicole Simpson. Think
Hmm.
about it, people. And with all these are just some of the few. There's so many. So this is just to give you, lovely listeners, an idea of what you are in for. You are literally going to be watching a movie on the book, in the book. And despite those obstacles, what stood out to me, what stood out to me, Nicole, is the
Sure.
spirit of gratitude that echoed through the pages. Is like when you could think an obstacle could not get any better.
Hmm.
The amount of gratitude that just came through as you are relating the story is so admirable.
Yeah.
And when you read the book, people, my lovely people, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've learned that I am still thankful for life, for breath, for being in my right mind. I
Mhm.
really value when I hear so many people always having mental challenges and things like
Mhm.
that. I have a lot of empathy, and I understand how things can put you over the edge. For some reason, I chose to work on the pain because it's not something that happened and I forgot about it and then I just wrote about it. I've lived with this all these years,
Mm-hmm.
and the pain was real. The pain was intense. Um, beating that I got at 6 years old, um, I I don't know how you could forget it when somebody that's supposed to love you and take care of you beat you almost into unconsciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I chose to work on it, and I wasn't sure how to fix it, how to stop the hurt. But I remember when I was still in Dallas, I learned through this sales rep about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and
Mm-hmm.
I started taking some of those classes. And that was the first time I started learning about the mind and people's behavior and humans' behavior and stuff like that. And that set me on a journey to, like get to the bottom of my pain. And then Oprah had her her talk show, and she dealt with so many subjects. And
Mm-hmm.
she dealt with subjects like abused children, children without parents, blah, 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 blah. And she used to always have a psychologist or psychiatrist on when she did these shows, and they would give advice and things like that. And I remember one of the psychologists gave some instructions on how to go back to when you were 4 or 5 or 8 or whenever, whatever, and how to talk to your parents on that level. He suggested that you write a letter. So if you're right-handed, write it with a left hand, and vice versa. So it looked like a 5-year-old or 6-year-old wrote it, and tell them exactly how you feel and what happened and da 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 da. And I did that. I did a lot of the exercises. They like talk to your parents if they're alive, but sometimes even though they're alive, you can't talk to them. They don't want to hear
Mm-hmm.
it, that kind of thing. So I did a lot of work on myself, on my feelings towards my parents, on my feelings to a lot of people along the way who, there are people that always try to stand in your way. And I learned to forgive. I learned to
Mm-hmm.
release and to let go. And, specifically my parents, because that's what they grew up with. They were abused, and all they knew to do is pass it on.
Right. The
So,
cycle of hurt
right,
people.
right. So you don't forget because I remember, but I have forgiven, I have released
Mm-hmm.
and move on because I know that holding on to anger doesn't help you,
Absolutely.
because the person doesn't even know that you're angry with them most of the time anyway. And they're
Mm-hmm.
living their life and you're just angry, and they don't even remember that you exist. So I've learned to forgive and to let go. And I'm truly grateful for, the number of people that have been good to me, the number of bosses that have been good to me, the
Mm-hmm.
CEOs that have been good to me, as opposed to just focusing on the people who weren't good to me,
Right.
or weren't helpful. So I've learned to, because we do that, like 10 people can tell you look beautiful, and one person can say, oh, or didn't say anything, and you
And
wind
you
up spending
remember
all
that.
your time worrying
Mm-hmm.
about, well, everybody else said I look good and she
Right.
didn't or he didn't.
Right.
And but there were 10 people that said you look great. And
Right.
that's what we tend to do, is focus on the people that were negative in our lives as opposed to the number of people that was positive in our lives. So I refuse to let people take up space in my brain, that are not worth it.
Wow. That's a beautiful, beautiful gem to drop also for our listeners as well. How important it is to remain in a place of gratitude
Hmm.
and to focus on the positive, and that obviously has been key cornerstones that have kept you looking so fabulously ageless, I have to say. It has a lot to do with your attitude to life,
Yes,
but
yeah.
it leads me to my mind jerk question for you,
Okay.
which is, if you were given a second chance of life,
Mm-hmm.
would you do anything differently?
Hmm. Um, I think yes. I think I would have chosen different parents if it was up to me. Um, and I would have put up with less of the things that I put up with
Mm-hmm.
because I was raised to be humble, be subjective to other people. Everybody else knows better. Everybody else is smarter, especially if they had a position of power or a uniform. So if you were a policeman, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, you knew best, a preacher, of course. And whatever those people did to you or said to you, you're supposed to just take it and move away. As a matter of fact, you had to be so respectful to every single adult that they didn't think an adult could do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would have given up some of that meekness, some of that. I used to be very like introvert and stuff like that, afraid to speak up. I didn't have a voice. And you'd be
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of me. In my head, I knew you were taking advantage of me, but I couldn't get the words out of my mouth to say, stop, no, don't do that. I don't like that. Or walk away. Just get rid of the friendship or the relationship or whatever. So those I would redo that. And I
Interesting.
would take some of the chances I was afraid to take. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, when there was that opportunity to go to another country for a year, to switch programs, switch countries, things like that, I would do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there were times I wanted to buy property when property was a lot cheaper in different states. I was afraid to do it. I wanted somebody to do it with me. So I think I would be less less fearless or be more confident in a lot of things in getting my own voice, in taking chances and replacing my parents.
Wow. And finally, how do you think the world would be different if you were never born?
The world would have less joy,
Mm, definitely.
less authenticity, less empathy, less happiness, which is what I think I share with people I come in contact with. And if I wasn't around, then the people who were able to learn anything from me, gain anything from me, they wouldn't have that. I hope
What,
I have impacted somebody's life, even one person, in a very positive manner some way.
Nicole, how can people get your book From No Salt to the Corner Office?
Right now, you can get the book on Amazon.com and it is worldwide. So if you have friends in other countries, they can go to Amazon. Like in Canada, it's Amazon.ca. And
Mm-hmm.
in England, in France, in Spain, in Japan, in Brazil, it's Amazon worldwide. But in America, it's Amazon.com, and they will get it to you in 1 to 3 days. Um, right now, that's all you have to do. Go to Amazon.com.
You
I
heard
have a
it.
li- I have a link that Shinari will put on her website that you can click the link and the link takes you to the book. But it's just as easy, Amazon.com, or you can put my name in, Nicole Simpson. Well, put Nick Simpson, because if you put Nicole, the Nicole Brown Simpson will probably come up. But if you put Nick Simpson, the From No Salt to the Corner Office should pop up also.
Yes, and you will have the link there posted right there in the description, that you'll be able to go in, easily click and access to buy her wonderful, amazing book. I am telling you, it is an amazing read. You
And
will not regret it.
The Kindle ebook is also available right now. And hopefully in a short while, the audiobook will be added. But right now, you can get
Yes.
the Kindle ebook, and the book is available right now on Amazon.com.
Yes, yes, that is what we want to hear. Now, Nicole, before you go, right, I would love you to share some love with our listeners. You have dropped some great gems, but you know how we all have our favorite things. We all have this one thing or a couple or three that we say, you must do this, you must try this before you leave this earth. It's a must do. What is that one thing? And that could be anything, could be from a movie to a restaurant to a play, whatever it is. What is that one thing, in your opinion, that you think is a must do, is a must do by anyone living on this planet before they leave?
One of the things I think is a must do is you must travel. I
Mm,
know it's expensive. I know it costs money,
yes,
but
Nicole, especially now, you know.
yeah, but traveling gives you it opens you up to the world. It
True.
opens you up to other people, other cultures, other foods, other music. Um, Having empathy for people who can't speak the language when they're in your country, when you're in their country, and you see how helpful, especially in Europe, how helpful people are because they see you struggling. I mean, now we have the latest is we have the headsets that translate for you. But if you can do one trip in 3 years, try to do, I mean, you can do small trips also because America is a massive
So
country
vast.
and
Yeah.
there's so much to see in
So much.
America.
So true.
You know, so many parks, so many lakes, so many, oh my God. So you can start within America. If you can drive to it, fine. If you can fly to it, fine. But please do see, go, learn, and be open. Don't go closed. Like, I know people who go to Europe and they expect them to behave and act and like we do. No, that's why you go to someplace else
Mhm.
for the difference. So
Yeah.
if there's one thing I can say to you, try and travel to somewhere. Learn about other people, learn about other cultures, learn about other foods. It's just so nice when you can open up to everybody. And
Yes.
the other thing is, as Shaneri said in the beginning of this interview, you know, when you see people, you have no idea what they're going through or what they've gone through. And even at work, be kind to people, pay attention, have empathy, because a lot of times you don't know what people are going through. You see them smiling, but they're going through hell. They may have just gotten a bad diagnosis from the doctor. They may have just lost a parent or somebody, and you really don't know what people are going through. So have empathy and travel, travel, travel.
Beautiful, beautiful advice. Absolutely. You never know the story behind that smile of an
Hmm.
individual. Yes. Thank you so much, Nicole. This was just such an honor to have you on the Whole of Vibe show. And I just know our listeners out there, listen, I know they want to know how they can follow you and keep up with you. And I'm sure you're going to be dropping. You're going to come. I know they're going to want to check out your next comedy show when that come, your next
Yes,
book when that drop. Look
yes.
out for any movie you're coming up with. So how can people follow you?
You can follow me on all of the social media. On Facebook, it's Nick Simpson. On Instagram, Twitter X, it's Nick Simpson Nick. That's NICSIMPSON NIC. Nick Simpson was taken, and Simpson was taken. Everything was taken. And that's why I had to do Nick Simpson, Nick. On LinkedIn, it's Nick Simpson also. On YouTube, it's Nick Simpson. So it's Nick Simpson everywhere.
Nick Simpson everywhere.
I would appreciate it if you would go to Amazon.com and you would get the book, get the ebook, read it, and then you can give me a great review back on Amazon.
That's right. Show the love.
Yep, share the love, share the love.
Absolutely.
Shaneri, I am truly thankful. I appreciate you, and I thank you for your time and giving me this space to talk about my life partially and my book.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you, Nicole. Real deal VIP MVP in the building, everybody. Nicole Nick Simpson from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, yes, yes. There you have it. No salt to the corner office, big author. Go buy our book so we can make her bestseller. All right? Yes. Buy the book.
Bestseller worldwide is my goal.
Bestseller worldwide. Let us make it happen. Let us make it happen. Thank you again so much, Nicole. It was such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you for holding the vibes with me. This was a great conversation. Thanks for sharing and having a drink with me. I noticed you never pick up your orange juice, but you know, we're talking was so good. I get it.
I had one sip.
Yes. So you take good care. So nice chatting with you. And my wonderful people out there, my lovely folks listening, as we say in Jamaica, walk good. And I'll see you next time when we hold a vibe.
When you see this, share it with your friends. Send it to all your other friends.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for that reminder, Nicole. Sharing is caring. Share it and spread the love. All right? See you next time.
Thank you, my love.
Thank you.